Today on Investigate TV Plus,
She wants to come home. She really doesn't understand what's going on.
a father fights to reunite with his toddler, but he faces an unexpected hurdle: conflicting test results.
All the ones from Department of Corrections are saying you're negative, and the ones from DFACS are saying you're positive.
Yes, ma'am. And it's unbelievable.
The costly steps he's taken to prove his innocence, and how it highlights troubling claims of false positives for other parents trying to regain custody of their kids.
Plus, high stakes at high speeds.
Because if you push it all the way to 100 and something bad happens, you have no room for error.
We get an in-depth look at how police officers train for pursuits and why federal authorities are urging law enforcement agencies to think twice before engaging.
If we want to save lives, someone has to make this happen.
Then turning a medical necessity into a fashion statement. How a young girl is using her own challenges to help other kids feel confident.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus. Parents accused of failing drug tests, their children kept in state custody as a result. Now a judge is calling for change. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. In many states, when drugs are the basis of a child welfare case, parents can be required to submit to hair follicle drug screens. Those screens are done by private labs with contracts that cost some states more than $1 million a year.
But one of those labs, Expertox, is now under scrutiny following claims of false positives.
Saying that I failed drug screens, that I know I haven't used any drugs. I've done everything that I've needed to do to fight to get them back, and it's like all of my efforts have failed.
We talked to several parents in Georgia who say the lab is stealing their sobriety, and they have results from other independent labs to prove it.
Investigative reporter Sierra Cummings explains how educating more people about a specialized testing process could have better outcomes for families left in limbo.
It is a blessing, I tell you.
William Brock just got off his first job. Before heading to his second, he's making a trip to see his daughter. The toddler is not at home. She's in the custody of Georgia Division of Family and Children's Services, DFACS.
She's a bright, beautiful young little girl, and she wants to come home. She really doesn't understand what's going on. She asks a lot of questions, but it's hard to explain to a 3-year-old.
Hard to explain why they only have 2-hour state-supervised visits.
Part of your case plan to get her back in your custody is sobriety and random drug screens.
Yes, ma'am.
And how's that been going?
Well, it hadn't been going good.
It goes back to William's criminal history. He lost child custody in Floyd County. He was on drugs. He went to prison on drug charges. The 59-year-old admits the past addiction, but says the state conviction turned his life around. The sentence included living in a facility for substance abuse and treatment.
It's anger management, parenting, criminal addictive thinking. You work on all different kind of things.
Upon successful completion of the 9-month program, the state granted William parole.
Is in compliance with his conditions of parole or probation supervision.
He's currently in compliance, as this letter shows. He's passed all Georgia Department of Corrections random drug screens. William's freedom depends on these tests. Meanwhile, his custody case depends on random drug screens too, a separate set done by DFACS labs. But the problem?
All the ones from Department of Corrections are saying you're negative, and the ones from DFACS are saying you're positive.
Yes, ma'am.
Positive for methamphetamine.
And it's unbelievable.
These tests are all hair follicle samples taken from his arm. Expertox is contracted to do the test on behalf of DFACS. Our reporting found Expertox does not use a specialized test called DL isomer. It distinguishes between legal methamphetamine like medicine versus illicit meth like the street drug. The test could minimize false positives, or at least claims of it.
The DL isomer test is what needs to be done.
In an October 1st interview, Expertox told us they would use the method statewide. However, it seems as if the company has not, at least in Williams' case. The lab writing this disclosure statement in his November positive result, the DL isomer test for methamphetamine was not performed. As a result, Expertox Inc. was unable to distinguish between illicit and non-illicit forms of methamphetamine in the sample.
Yes, they're still in my sobriety.
State policy does not mandate the method.
I began there as a judge pro tem.
Judge Peggy Walker suggests that's a part of the concern.
But it also seems like the state doesn't know to require it.
And that's absolutely correct. What is missing in terms of services for our children and families is that quality control measure.
The senior judge for juvenile courts of Georgia acknowledges in the past she's made assumptions based on a parent's drug screen results. But Walker now cautions her peers to take more training on the science, just as she has. The 29-year veteran on the bench argues drug screens are not always right.
That's where the fundamental fairness comes in. And that's where it becomes our obligation to look at the big picture.
She watched our stories questioning the reliability of hair follicle testing and parents getting independent tests at their own expense at the advice of their attorney.
And not solely focus on those drug screens, because not everyone has the financial ability to have that testing and to have an attorney who will step up, step in, and challenge those results as dramatically as your story.
William challenges his DFACS results, spending $75 out of his own pocket for independent hair follicle tests. So each time DFACS randomly screens him,
Go get my own.
These independent results show negative for drugs. The father pays to prove his innocence, although he maintains the burden should be on the state to prove accuracy of its own screens, tests that determine the outcome of a family.
And it's just heartbreaking, for her to have to go through this. But I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
Expertox has previously denied claims of faulty drug results, citing lab accreditation, and the lab is not breaking any rules by not performing the DL isomer test, because Georgia is not mandating a specific testing method or paying for that specialized process. But DFACS told us they are actively reviewing the situation and exploring ways to address these concerns. Several states, including Texas, have ended their contracts with lab companies like Expertox. You can learn more about those cases on InvestigateTV.com. Just search Stolen Sobriety.
Still to come, a reminder for flyers after a woman says thousands of dollars worth of jewelry was stolen from a checked suitcase.
I didn't believe it at first. I was like, surely there's been a mistake.
We explain the steps to take if you believe your luggage has been tampered with.
But first, using high-tech strategies instead of high-speed chases.
Just because you're getting away now doesn't mean you're not going to get caught.
We examine the solutions to preventing police pursuits that some experts say could save innocent lives.
High-speed pursuits, they're a dangerous part of police work, and it's not just the officer at risk.
Innocent people are often the ones injured or killed. The Department of Transportation reports from 2001 to 2021, pursuits that turned deadly increased by 41%. During that time, more than 8,000 people died, and about 36% of them were innocent bystanders.
In 2023, the Department of Justice released a report urging law enforcement agencies to enact policies that reduce high-speed chases. But we've uncovered not all officers receive the same type of pursuit training.
Investigative reporter Cynthia Beasley hit the track at the Criminal Justice Academy in Columbia, South Carolina, to find out why.
It takes months of training to become a law enforcement officer in South Carolina. For part of the training, officers are on the track. Here, they learn precision driving.
We teach them, you drive 80% of your capability, 80% of the vehicle's capability. Because if you push it all the way to 100 and something bad happens, you have no room for error.
So that means you really have to know your own capabilities too then.
Yes. And hopefully this week, that's what they're learning.
We got to go through the driving course at the Criminal Justice Academy.
They run this course a total of 7 times before they're tested.
They learn everything from how to steer.
It's a smoother action, smooth as fast.
And how to carefully drive through sharp curves and busy streets.
We're going to come up on our last simulated curve here and get into city lane changes. This is to simulate, smaller roads in the city with people parking on both sides trying to get in and out.
Jackie Swindler is the director of the state's Criminal Justice Academy.
While they'll use a lot of these skills in a pursuit, it's not pursuit-specific training, right?
Correct, because that's individual agencies will teach their agencies, their officers, what their pursuit policy is.
South Carolina law doesn't mandate agencies to do additional pursuit training. The law also doesn't specify what warrants an officer to initiate a pursuit. So pursuit policies vary agency to agency.
Some agencies do training later and some probably don't.
Swindler says it comes down to good training and good policies, which lead to better decisions and safer outcomes.
I want us to be able to pursue for things that are serious and that we need to, but I want us to be smart about it and know that sometimes that's not the best decision if it's not something serious.
A federal report is calling on law enforcement agencies to limit high-speed pursuits to protect innocent citizens. The report says officers should receive both classroom and scenario-based training. And it says only officers with that training should be allowed to engage in a pursuit.
Do you think that it will take, in some cases, action at the State House in order to mandate a specific type of training for this?
Yeah, I think unfortunately it will take legislation.
Jeff Alpert, a professor at the University of South Carolina, has been researching police pursuits since the 80s. He was one of several people who worked on that report that suggests high-speed pursuits should only happen when a suspect has committed or could commit a violent crime.
It's something that is very important for the state, that if we want to save lives, someone has to make this happen.
The report cites research that shows more than 90% of pursuits are initiated because of traffic violations.
So the departments, when they change their policies to violent crime only from this judgmental policy, you're reducing your pursuits by about 90%.
And saving a lot of people at that point.
Absolutely. Now, the flip side is you're letting people go. But as a lot of police officers and police chiefs have told and shown me, just because you're getting away now doesn't mean you're not going to get caught. And that goes back to doing good police work.
The Department of Justice report also urged agencies to explore technology that can help shorten pursuits or avoid them altogether.
The report says not only could this protect innocent people, but it can also save taxpayers money in the long run, as states pay millions of dollars every year in damages due to pursuits. One option being deployed in some departments, Digital Siren. It's an app that can alert drivers of a nearby pursuit. Creator Tim Morgan says his team installs the tech in law enforcement vehicles. And when an officer hits a certain speed with their lights and sirens on, it triggers an app alert, giving drivers about a 30 to 45 second warning. He says it only costs about $260 for each law enforcement vehicle.
Fairly simple installation. It doesn't require any additional work for the officer. And let's do something before there's a tragedy.
Another tool used by police, a device that can shoot a GPS tracker onto a fleeing car.
The technology allows us to keep an eye on the vehicles from a distance. We don't necessarily have to be in hot pursuit.
Police in Illinois say they've used these GPS darts on a weekly basis for about 3 years. To learn more about the different tech and policies being put in place to help prevent dangerous police pursuits, head to InvestigateTV.com and search high-speed stakes.
Still ahead, sewing the perfect pattern to help young patients overcome a life-altering diagnosis.
I just hope that these kids feel not scared to hide away the thing that makes them unique.
But first, just how safe are items in your suitcase once you hand them over to the airline?
It's kind of a mystery when you put your bag on the conveyor belt.
We investigate the case of a missing diamond ring and break down the best practices when packing valuables.
Getting through the airport can be stressful, and once you turn it over, the last thing you want to do is worry about your checked bag.
But stowing an item in your suitcase doesn't always mean it's safe. One Kansas City native learned this lesson the hard way after she said diamonds in her checked luggage didn't make it to their final destination.
Reporter Zach Summers gets some insight from experts about ways to protect your valuables when packing your bags.
Kelsey Rohr and her husband Jake visit family in Kansas City often. But a recent trip out of KCI has them reconsidering their flying habits.
I am reluctant to check anything anymore.
In October, the couple checked their bags with United Airlines. Kelsey says inside the luggage, a pair of diamond earrings and her engagement ring valued at around $9,000.
I don't really like wearing them when I travel because I wash my hands a lot.
A decision she now regrets. Kelsey says the jewelry was gone when they returned home to California.
I didn't believe it at first. I was like, surely there's been a mistake.
Kelsey says they went back and forth with the airline and KCI police. She says airport police ultimately refused to take a report, so she filed a public records request for possible security footage. The city's aviation department responded saying it would unlikely have any footage that would be helpful, and that once the couple turned their bags over to United, it was in their custody. United pointed to its contract of carriage, which, like many airlines, excludes jewelry from its limits of liability. TSA regional spokesperson Mark Howell.
And in the case of check luggage, a very small number of bags actually get checked by hand. So you'll know if you had a bag checked by TSA because you'll have a slip of paper inside your bag that's a notice of inspection.
Howell says TSA and their contracted counterparts tend to see an increase in the number of stolen, lost, or missing complaints during the holiday season, but he says claims of theft are rarely substantiated.
It's kind of a mystery when you put your bag on the conveyor belt.
Kathy Sudeikis is Vice President of Corporate Relations at Ascendus Travel. With 40-plus years of experience, she's heard it all. Simply put, she says, if you cherish it, don't check it.
Any kind of a guidebook, and certainly a travel agent's going to explain to you that the only things that you put in the suitcase are things that you're not going to need. Jewelry is an absolute no-no to be in packed luggage.
A hard truth Kelsey now accepts.
Now I know I shouldn't do that, but I used to check my rings all the time. I think we'll be doing carry-ons from now on.
Airport police told us they could not determine if the reported theft happened in Kansas City. They say it could have happened during a layover or at the couple's final destination.
If you suspect something is stolen out of your bag, experts say report the theft to police and file a claim with the airline.
Up next, redesigning her new reality.
So I asked Mom, when we get back into the house, I want to sew.
Meet the mother and daughter duo crafting colorful covers for medical devices that help young patients embrace their style.
I'm Viv Williams with a medical mythbuster moment. Myth or truth? Wearing contact lenses or glasses can make your vision worse. The American Academy of Ophthalmology says that is a myth. The organization notes on their website that wearing glasses or contacts will not hurt your vision, and if you need corrective lenses for distance or reading but don't use them, you're at risk of straining your eyes, which can cause issues such as blurriness, dry eyes, or headaches. They say eye strain is more of a symptom than a condition. It can happen if you wear the wrong prescription, work long hours on a computer, drive when you're tired at night, or again, if you don't use corrective lenses when you need them. And most of the time, symptoms of eye strain go away when you get out of the situation that caused it. So don't worry about your glasses or contacts making your vision worse. They'll help you see the world more clearly. With this medical mythbuster moment, I'm Viv Williams.
When doctors couldn't provide what she needed, a young girl in Knoxville, Tennessee picked up a needle and thread to create something special for kids just like her.
Reporter Brittany Tarwater explains why she was inspired to make a medical device more fashion forward.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Jessica Fowler.
There we go.
Is hard at work.
I like to be sort of fashionable on accessorizing. Rubber duckies, mermaid patterns, squirrels, sometimes glitter, lots of glitter.
All right, ready?
Let's go.
It wasn't so long ago
We started in August.
that Jessica couldn't sew
But you're doing wonderful.
a stitch.
She has just always had very bad pain and bloatedness and just, gastrointestinal issues.
This 12-year-old is no stranger to hospitals.
She's had a lot thrown at her since she was little with all this health issues.
An August surgery to take away stomach pain left her with this, an ostomy bag. something she'll likely have the rest of her life.
I felt surprised, shocked, and alarmed. And after I felt that, I wanted to ask about if they had covers. I didn't care what design they had. I just wanted covers.
And they said, well, we don't know anybody who knows how to sew these, and they're kind of pricey to get a bunch of them.
Whoa. So I asked Mom, when we get back into the house, I want to sew.
With no luck finding a pattern, her mom created one.
I just don't want me or any other people that do have an ileostomy to be just an ileostomy girl, but instead have traits.
Good job.
So Jessica got to work, learning from her mom how to cut, pin, iron, and sew.
There we go. We're here for another donation.
Less than 3 months after her own surgery, Jessica returned to the hospital, this time with a gift.
They can pick and choose.
A stack of covers for bags fitting children of all ages and sizes.
These are so great. There are different sizes. It's kind of embarrassing and unsightly, especially for a teenager to have to deal with that. So I think it's really great that they developed these pouches.
A perfect pattern of kindness.
I just hope in the future that these kids feel not scared to hide away the thing that makes them unique.
I just love how she, obviously wanted to help herself, but thinking of others who are going through what she is going through too.
Yeah, the best ideas come out of necessity.
They
and
do.
her necessity included some kindness as well.
Very true, very true. All right, that's it for us here on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. Thanks for watching. On the next Investigate TV Plus, anti-bullying activist with a different perspective.
I think a lot of people who think about dogs visiting classrooms may not really correlate that with bullying.
We get that question a lot.
We help answer that question and examine why four-legged friends are giving kids the tools to say no to bullying.